Morning campers. This morning I'm fermenting tomatoes. I'm hoping to preserve them for the winter months. Now, I've made, what they call it? Sauerkraut before. I always pickle beetroot and things, and I have fermented beetroot. That's beautiful. But I've never tried tomatoes. I've been looking on YouTube, and of course, now I'm a YouTube expert. So I've got my tomatoes. I haven't bothered weighing them out because it's a question of how many you can pack into the jar. So I've got my tomatoes, a mix of Roma plums and yellow tumbling toms. I've got my glass weights to hold them under the jar. I've given them all a good wash. I'll wash them again in a sec because I've been faffing on the kitchen. I have mixed up it was 4 tablespoons of pink Himalayan sea salt in 1.5 litres of water. Now, you should ideally use the bottled water. Not tap water, but if you've got to use tap water, and I do, I simply fill the jug with water and leave it overnight for all the gases to escape. There's no big deal. I've done it before and it's worked plenty, absolutely fine. So I've got the jars sterilising in the oven at the moment. I'm not really keen on using the nasty harsh chemicals. Much prefer to put them in the oven. Now, my not seals, the metal rings on the top are starting to rust. Again, none of that comes in contact with the tomatoes, well, any of the veggies, so I'm not overly concerned about it. But if anybody knows where I can get the metal ring things to seal the jar lids, I would love to know. I have searched high and low on Tinterweb. So I'll get them all packed into the jars, then I'll come back and show you what I've done. There we go. I've filled the jar up with tomatoes. I've put them in layers, but obviously over time the layers will dissipate and they'll all mingle together. Now, if you can see, they're floating, and that's the purpose of these glass weights. I got them from Amazon. They are for fermenting. I'm going to have a flood here, aren't I? I am, yes. Oh, I'm just going to take a bit of the brine off the top there so I've got room to push them in. You don't want to squash the tomatoes. Pack them in firmly, but don't squash them. You don't want to split them. There we go. I've packed them in nice and firmly without squashing them. You've got to make sure the tomatoes stay underneath of the brine solution, otherwise they'll go bad. Don't let them do that because you're going to have a horrible stinking mess. And I'm actually surprised at just how many it took. It took all of that, well, not all, but virtually all of that tub that I've just done. I'm going to do a second jar now, then I'll come back again. There we go. I've got 2 jars there. Look, one's got chili and black peppercorns in, and the other's just plain salty water. So we shall see. I'm going to leave them now. Actually, I'm staggered at just how many tomatoes have gone in there. I'm really pleased now, hoping that this works. If it doesn't, I'll tell you in a few weeks' time. But what I'm going to do now is got some clean handkerchiefs, and I'm going to put one over the top of each of them. If you look, I haven't closed the jar completely because these are going to ferment and they're going to fizz. And if you do this, stick them on a tray. Learn by my mistake. I came in one morning and my whole countertop was full of fizzy, salty water. So cover, as I said, don't put the lids on tight, but do put the weights on. You've got to keep everything under that brine solution. Cover them with a cloth. I mean, a clean tea towel is probably just as good as anything else, and stand them on a tray. Leave them there for a week, and then after a week, you can put the lid down and put them in the fridge, and then you've got beautiful, what they call them? Fermented tomatoes. So, as I say, I'll come back in a week or two and tell you what I think of them.